Hey, what's up, everybody? It is the Power Rankings Podcast, aka the Power Rankings Show. I am Elliot Harrison, and I'm joined as always with the one, the only, the very pro Halloween, very excited, first time Halloween parent, Marcus Mosher. How are you, sir?
Doing really well. I just learned pre-show that you hate Halloween. You hate dressing up.
I'd say that.
You're just a hater of Halloween. That's fine. Just so don't go to Elliot Harrison's house to get candy because he'll probably send you something gross.
All right, wait a minute. Now, just hold on. First of all, I didn't
probably give you
that.
like a payday or something. Just the worst candy bar.
I would not give you.
We should rank the top 5 candy bars here on the show, Elliot.
I will do that with you. I will do that with you after we make our picks. But here's the thing. You said you wanted me to get all excited that you were going as Walt Anderson.
You're not supposed to ruin the surprise for all the people that are going to see me at the party. But okay, go ahead. I guess.
Okay. And no one knows what that means. And then 3 minutes later, you say, "And my daughter's going as a football, and my wife's going as Des Bryant." Now you put it all together. Anyway,
I'm just We'll talk about this next week, but I just can't believe you are a Halloween hater. It makes sense. Now that I think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So
I said I liked it better when we had kids on our street. My mom used to play our Halloween. We had a Halloween album from the 70s, and it was really great. But, if you don't live in an area where there are kids, Halloween's just not as fun, if nobody comes around. And of course, if you're like me and you give away paydays and candy corn, and,
you give away candy corn. No wonder why nobody comes to your house.
I'm kidding. No way. I
kind of think you are like a Lifesavers and like cinnamon disc kind of house. Just the worst candy possible.
I think if you're a parent and you wanna do Halloween right, but you don't really want to put a lot into it, when you go to the store, just buy the pack of little candy bars that have the Mr. Goodbar, the Crackle, and the Hershey's. You can't go wrong. The kids are going to like at least one of those 3, usually 2 out of those 3. As a kid, I was a Crackle guy. Then I morphed into Mr. Goodbar, but
I'm a Heath candy bar guy. So,
well, that's really for like the fancy kids, but you had a lot more money than I did growing up. So yeah, anyway, can we get to some picks, or do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about other than gloating over your Halloween costume, and maybe you can be an IG star?
No, but let's get to some games, Elliot. We should start with the first one. A Thursday night game between the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns. The Broncos are 2-point underdogs in this game on the road.
Well, so I tweeted earlier that Cody Kessler and the backup Browns, I'm picking them tonight in this preseason game we have. And then I realized as soon as I sent it, I'm like, Cody Kessler. So I corrected it. So if you see that tweet,
Case Keenum there.
Give me some love. It's Case Keenum. Case Keenum, former Broncos quarterback, Case Keenum, who actually didn't play bad for them, Marcus. I don't know what you thought, but I thought he did okay.
I thought he's fine. But are you ready for our first graphic? Are you ready for our first graphic of the week?
I know it's a red one.
It is not a red one. Are you ready?
No.
Here we go. Let's do it.
All right.
My lock of the week is the Denver Broncos to win this game outright. I love the Broncos in this spot. Cleveland is at a really dangerous spot in the season where they're getting way too many injuries at the same positions, right? Like they're down 3 offensive tackles tonight. No quarterback. Odell's out. They've lost 2 running backs. This is a really tough spot. You can overcome injuries over the course of a season, but on a short week, I don't think so. I'm taking the Broncos here.
You know what? And what's the line on this?
2.
Broncos by 2?
No. Browns by 2. The Broncos are
Browns by 2. Wow.
Yep.
Well, that is a well, then the Broncos are a nice gamble. I'm going to go ahead and just differ with you here. I'm going to put some faith into Case Keenum. I actually think he's going to play good football tonight. And I'm going to go with a little bit of what I think is an upset, regardless of what Vegas thinks. We'll see how I do on that one.
Do you want to guess the over under for this one because it's spectacular?
I would say I'd be shocked if it's over 39.5.
It is 40.5. So you're very close. This is not going to be a very high scoring game. Which quarterback do you like better in this one? Bridgewater?
I like both.
Do you? Okay.
I like both. I think Teddy Bridgewater is actually played decently well. There have been times where the offense is stalled, but there's a lot of other things going on there with that team. I don't think let me put it this way. I don't think Bridgewater is the problem with this team. I don't know that he's the guy to get you over the hump, but he's certainly not the problem with this team.
Okay.
In my mind.
That's fine. I don't really love either. So I'm just taking the team that's a little healthier. All right. Yes, go ahead.
Easy with the wild takes there. Look, man, I'm not really in love with Case Keenum or Teddy Bridgewater. Man, Marcus, you really
just coming out hot on this show, right? All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, I absolutely do not love the Washington football team taking on the Green Bay Packers. Washington is a 7.5 point road underdog in this one.
Oof. So Marcus never tells me the lines. If you haven't listened to our picks pod, we do our picks pod, by the way, every Thursday around this time, around 12 Pacific. And it's always a surprise to me to hear it. And I don't know any of the over-unders. I always guess on them. That is a rich line, but I don't see Washington matching up very well here. I will say the Packers have been really bad in the red zone this year, but I'm talking about defensively. But the problem is, can Washington even get down there enough? And, it's kind of funny. I thought of you because speaking of bad red zone defense, I think it was against the Bears. A new Packers linebacker, I'll let you guess who it was, had a perfect opportunity to make a tackle at the 3 and took the worst angle I've ever seen.
So you're saying he didn't have a clear-eyed view of the situation? No. That's a brand of Jalen Smith. It does not surprise me. I like Green Bay here. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to cover the spread. I like Washington's offense when they're fully healthy. Like, I think they can be a pretty decent offense.
But they're not.
Right? Ryan Fitzpatrick's
Gibson's
out. Terry McLaurin missed practice on Wednesday, Thursday. Logan Thomas, the tight end, is on injured reserve. It's just too much for Washington to overcome in this game.
What's the craziest thing, so far, maybe in the league, if you talk about a team stat, is that Washington's allowed the most points. That's crazy. Crazy. But there we go. I like Green Bay, and I like them to cover.
Yeah, Washington's in a lot of trouble right now in their defense. Jack Del Rio is just not a very good defensive coordinator anymore. All right, next game. It's the New York Jets against the New England Patriots. We've actually had this meeting already once this year. The Patriots won 25-6. The Jets are 7-point road favorites in Foxborough.
Yeah, I think that this is – wait a minute. You said the Jets are 7-point road favorites?
Underdogs. I'm sorry.
Underdogs. Okay.
Thank you for correcting me.
Boy, yeah. I was like, man, maybe I need to look at the lines.
7-point road underdogs. Excuse me.
Yeah. So this is our first repeat matchup, I think, of the year, league-wide, which tells you what the schedule makers thought of the Jets' chances of competing in the AFC East. Because if they thought the Jets had any chance at all, the Jets would have been playing the Patriots at the back end of the season. The Jets are 31st in yards, Marcus. They're last in points scored. So the worst points scoring defense would be Washington. The worst point scoring offense are the Jets. I don't like this matchup for the Jets at all. The Patriots are doing kind of what they usually do. They get takeaways when they need to, although they had a nightmare game last week against Dallas, giving up. They got close to 600 yards allowed last week.
They did get some takeaways, though, and they were pretty good at the red zone, which is what they do, right?
That's what they do. That's what I'm saying. They always allow yards, but when it comes to points and when it comes to takeaways, usually by midseason, they've got it together. And then by the end of the year, they're always one of the top scoring defenses in the league.
Why I love the Patriots here. They only gave up 6 points in the previous meeting. So you're basically expecting the Jets to score 10 to 13 points. And if the New England can score 21, they're going to cover. This is another lock of the week. I know we don't have the graphic ready for this one, but this is a lock for me. I think the Patriots are going to win pretty easily.
What was Courtney asleep at the wheel?
No, she's got it. Look at that. It's fantastic. And I didn't even prepare them. That's my fault.
If you're listening, like on Spotify right now. The graphic is a very complicated thing. You're really missing out. It's a blue thing that says lock of the week that comes
So that's
in.
2 locks already, right?
Get excited.
Are we tracking
almost
our locks?
as good? We should. It's almost as good as when the T1000 moved through the metal bars at the jail. Kind of special effects.
It's very good. Yep.
Yeah, I know you're a T2 guy. Another opinion you're wrong on. Terminator was better, but go ahead.
All right. So you like the Patriots as well to cover the spread?
I do.
Okay. Would you like to guess this over under? Because I find this one really interesting as well.
Well, the way you say that makes me think that Vegas has it too high. This would be another one I would be really low on. I think the Jets score between 9 and 12 points in this game. I see the Patriots winning this game like 24-10. So I think the over-under on this game should be no higher than what the one, like 40.5, which is what the other one was. But I bet you Vegas is a little too high.
43. And there's actually some sports books that have it at 43.5 or 44. So I think we both agree this is going to be a low-scoring game. Go out and get that value there because that's just way too many points.
Wow. And you very rarely does Marcus Mosher say, hey, go out and bet the under. You won't hear that 5 times this whole year.
Because I hate betting the unders. It's not fun at all. If you're watching the game with a group of friends and you're betting the under, you're just the biggest buzzkill in the room. So I'm just saying. All right. Our next game, it's the Kansas City Chiefs against the Tennessee Titans. I think a really, really good game. The Chiefs on the road, 5.5-point favorites.
Yeah, this is a big game. This is a really big game. And I think this is a game where Kansas City needs to step up and show that they're not just an offensive machine that's going to make it rain at the end of games. If they're legitimately going to compete for the Super Bowl again this year, I think they need to show something in this game. A couple of impressive things. They are converting over 60% of their third downs. That is awesome. It's really difficult to win an NFL game when the team you're going up against is converting at that kind of rate. They're second in yards. So for all the things that are wrong with the Chiefs, those aren't any of them. However, they are giving up 133 yards on the ground. And this is the wrong team to be letting people run through you. This is the wrong team, man. Yeah. Unless Derrick Henry's tired from the other night.
So I hate to do the typical, sports talk radio thing, but who needs this win more, Elliot? The Chiefs or the Titans?
Oh, man. I think the Chiefs do. I really think the Chiefs do. This is a game that they need to show. Look, no one's expecting them to be a top 10 defense, but just show that you're a top 20 defense.
Exactly.
That would be nice in this game. You said the Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites. I'll tell you why that is. It's because no one trusts the Titans secondary, and their pass rush just isn't good enough. And yes, I know they got penetration on the quarterback sneak, but a lot of people were expecting a quarterback sneak there.
Yep.
I'd be inclined to. Well, I take the Chiefs straight up. I would probably stay away from this line, however.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well. The Chiefs are just 3-13-1 against the spread in their last 17 games. That's awful. But the Titans secondary is so bad that I just don't see how they're going to limit the Chiefs to scoring fewer than 31 points. So I like the Chiefs straight up. If you made me pick, I would probably pick the Chiefs against the spread, but I agree. It's probably a stay away.
I have a little more on this game
at the
end of our podcast, but I want us to get to a really great game like Falcons Dolphins.
No, we're not going to that one next. We're going to the game that I'm legitimately the most excited to watch. This is the one I have circled, the one I'm really looking forward to. The Cincinnati Bengals are 6.5-point road underdogs to the Ravens. What an awesome game, by the way. This is fantastic.
Do the Ravens win by 7?
I think so. I do.
Oh, I'm gonna go with the Bengals on this.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go with the Ravens in overtime. In Ovaltine.
Ovaltine.
Yes.
This is a bigger game for the Bengals than the Ravens because the Ravens could lose this game, and I still think I would pick them to win the division. But if the Bengals win this game, now we're having different conversations about this team. They go from a cool story, playing well this year to, is this a team that could make some noise in the playoffs at 5-2 and maybe should be 6-1? That's why it's
another. I agree. It'll be just another manic Monday in sports talk. Sorry, Marcus, that's a dated music joke.
Right.
So the Bengals early on in the year, they weren't protecting Joe Burrow. He had been sacked 10 times, but over the last 4 games, he's only been sacked 6 times. And I think that's really important against a Ravens team where their front's been playing a lot better.
I
You
agree.
saw Calais Campbell make some huge plays against the Colts a couple weeks ago, and then their front was outstanding against the Chargers. I'm really interested to see how that matchup goes because I think if Burrow gets time, I think he can beat the secondary with the young receivers that he has. I'm looking at again an overtime game that the Ravens win with Justin Tucker.
The Bengals do some interesting things on defense. They'll use like a 5 defensive lineman front with 2 linebackers, just depending on the matchups. I'm curious to see how they try to slow down Lamar Jackson in this one. They've got some pretty good guys on defense. Trey Hendrickson, I think a lot of people were nervous about the big contract the Bengals gave him this offseason. He's playing really, really well. I like this Bengals team a lot. I really listen. I'm rooting for the Bengals to win this game, but I do think the Ravens are ultimately going to win and cover.
I want to look something up here that I thought that I saw. Well, no, I can't. I screwed it up. But I think that the Bengals have been outscored 137-36 since Zach Taylor took over against the Ravens.
It makes sense. They haven't had a lot of close games in their history, and it's been pretty rough for these two teams. This is a different Bengals team, right? Like the defense is far better than what we've used to seeing over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, do you buy in, just as a larger kind of discussion for a second, do you buy into the idea that one team owns another in division play?
Yes.
I do. I think in division play, it can, especially when you have the same head coaches. I don't like comparing eras.
No, that doesn't matter. Right.
No, and the eras are so short now with head coaches, right? But so last year, the Bengals played Baltimore at home. They lost 38-3. When they played them in Baltimore, they lost 27-3. If I go to 2019, they lost to the Bengals 17-23. So that was a closer game. And let's see, the Bengals lost 49-13. So 3 blowouts out of 4 games for Zach Taylor with the
not great
Baltimore Ravens.
That's why this game means more for the Bengals, because I truly believe if they win this game, their attitude is now, hey, we can compete with anybody in the AFC, and that's why it matters. All right, let's go to the next game. We've talked about that game enough, Elliot. Time to move on. Yes, okay. We're good.
What's more exciting video than me leaning over looking at my computer?
It's fantastic.
Okay, yeah, cool.
All right, next one. Carolina Panthers, -3 against the New York Giants. What do you think of this one, Elliot?
This is an ugly game. This is such an ugly game. The Panthers have got to catch the ball. First of all, the Giants are still banged up. I know you're not really excited about Chuba Hubbard. Do you think that Carolina I think their best way to win is still Sam Darnold going down the field. Their head coach does not agree with me. So we'll see how that goes. The one guy that I'd really like to see pick it up for them is Ian Thomas, a tight end. They got rid of their tight end. He had one really big play down the field. It was really important in that game. But if your receivers aren't catching the ball and you have, an average running back, like I said, unless you feel Chuba Hubbard's a lot better than that, then I think you get your tight end involved.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Panthers use more of Tommy Tremble this week, a 3rd-round rookie they drafted. But Elliot, this is another lock for me. I'm taking the Carolina Panthers to win this game. I really like their front seven.
Because of Ian Thomas?
Because of Ian Thomas. His dominance at tight end is what has me picking that. No, Carolina's front seven is good. And they made Minnesota work really hard for all their offensive points last week. The Giants are way too banged up on the offensive line and at wide receiver. And I just think Carolina's better. I think they're going to handle business on the road.
If Carolina wins this game 30-7 or even 30-17, it's going to be rough. It already is rough. But
are we on Joe Judge firing watch if that happens?
I hate to talk about that stuff. I used to get pressured into talking about that when I worked at the NFL, like what's going to happen on Black Monday. I never enjoyed speculating about people losing their job, but I mean, it's bad right now. And if Carolina goes in there and dominates, which I don't think Carolina is going to do. I am picking them to win. This should also be another low over-under game, by the way.
You want to guess? I've got it. Go ahead.
There's the highest I could see it being is 45.5. I'm actually going to go Carolina has been giving up some points, though. That's exactly where I'm going to go, 45.5.
Little lower than that, 43.5. Not a lot of points anticipated in this game.
Yeah, I would stay away from that over-under period.
I would as well. All right, next one. The Detroit Lions are traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. The Lions are 14.5-point underdogs in this game. Matt Stafford against his former team.
14.5. That's a smart line.
Yeah,
that's a smart line in this game. There's nothing about this game, nothing that I like for the Lions. It's Goff has no help right now. He's not playing well. If he starts pressing to prove something in Los Angeles, I don't think that's good. And how is the Lions offensive line, which has been banged up, going to contend with the Rams with Joseph Day and Aaron Donald and those guys, Hollins? This is a terrible matchup for Detroit. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And it does feel like a game where Matt Stafford is going to want to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, right? I don't see this game being close. It's probably too many points to stay away. And you'll see this in a little bit. I just don't like betting on teams that are giving, 14, 15, 16 points. It's just way too many. But I probably would take the Rams here.
Do you know who the Lions' best downfield guy has been?
I mean, other than Quintez Cephas, who's hurt?
There it is. How many people do you think around the country that watch football know who Quintez Cephas is?
Or Khalif Raymond or some of these other guys that throw the ball to? It's so bad.
Next game.
Yeah, next game. I think this is a really good one as well. Philadelphia Eagles against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
The Eagles are 3-point underdogs in this one, which basically means that odds makers believe on a neutral field, these teams are similar, and that's interesting.
Yeah, sorry, my mullet's sticking out here. I think it's holding our podcast back, which leads to my next question. Do you think Jalen Hurts is holding back his slow development? And I'm not saying he's bad, just his slow development is holding back these young receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a bad fit for Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor, right? Because those are both smaller receivers who win by running good routes and win with anticipatory throws.
Yeah.
It's not Jalen Hurts' game, right? Like, I think he would be better off with the bigger guys that can go downfield and make plays on 50-50 balls and that kind of stuff. It's just, it's a bad fit. But I think the Eagles drafted, Devontae Smith with the idea that Hurts is probably not the franchise guy there. So it's okay.
No, it's a really great point that you make. So Hurts is averaging 62.5% completions, which is not horrible, but given that when you're not getting the ball down the field, that really needs to be above 65%. The other thing with Hurts is, to your point, it's when you have big receivers like that, a lot of times when you get those 50-50 balls, it's on when the quarterback is able to get out of the pocket, buy himself some time, and then throw it up to a guy downfield, which Hurts can do.
Right.
But
exactly.
in a timing-based offense or on these kind of timing throws, you're talking about slants where the guy catches it in stride and it's a catch and run game. That's not really what he's excelling at least not at this stage of his career. But, we saw Dak Prescott get a lot more accurate.
Yes.
It does happen. Dak was not accurate in, say, 2017 or maybe even early 2018. There are guys that do get more accurate. Josh Allen got more accurate last year, although I think he's regressed a little bit this year.
A little bit, but I think you make a good point. I also want to point out that when Jalen Hurts was really good in college, when he was at Oklahoma, he was throwing to a guy that won every 50-50 ball in CeeDee Lamb, right? I think they need somebody like that in their offense. I'm also curious to see Dallas Goedert this week. Like, Zach Ertz is gone. This needs to be the Dallas Goedert show. So I'm going to be watching that. I'm still picking the Raiders here. They're just a better team. Derek Carr's playing really well this season. They should win and cover.
Yeah, I like the Raiders here straight up. And I'll say that, Derek Carr is still having a nice year, 8.4 yards per attempt. He has slowed down a little bit. Max Crosby, 18 quarterback hits for that team. I don't think anybody was expecting that kind of production from him. Ngakoue, who's kind of known as the sack guy, 2 sacks this year. Crosby
he's playing well,
He's
playing well. Both of those guys are playing really well.
Crosby has twice as many QB hits as Ngakoue has right now.
It's incredible. Crosby leads the NFL in pressures with 43. Nobody else has more than 35. So this is a good test for him because he hasn't played a lot of good right tackles. Now he gets Lane Johnson here in week 7. I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah.
Did you give me a pick? I think you're just kind of.
I did. I said I like the Raiders straight up in this game.
It's fun.
We'll go back over at the end. We'll
fun.
review.
All right, the next one. It's the Chicago Bears against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bears are 12-point favorites, or 12-point underdogs, excuse me, in this game. Tom Brady, that's 12 if you can get your fingers right. I know you messed it up last time when you played Chicago. So what do you think?
Oh boy. I think this is a terrible matchup for the Bears. So at first glance, if you see that, or I just heard that line for the first time, the first thing somebody might think is the Bears aren't that bad. The Bears are still a decent team. It's the matchups here. The Bears, when they can get after the passer, they're pretty good. The Bucs offensive line's been playing great. How do you beat the Bucs? You beat their secondary, right, Marcus?
Yep.
The Bears have the worst pass offense in the game. Do you know the Bears have not even gotten over 200 net yards passing in any game yet this season?
It's awful. I would say that I was actually thinking about picking the Bears here earlier in the week.
Because of the big line?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a huge line. But when Robert Quinn was put on the COVID list, it really scared me because Robert Quinn has been phenomenal this year. And my thought was maybe Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn and Hakeem Hicks can just dominate up front and keep this game close. But no, I'm taking Tampa Bay here as well.
Another thing, I know this is, again, extremely exciting video when I lean over and look up things. But I just wanted to see the Chicago Bears pass offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 1943, okay, we're talking about ancient football here, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Bears had over 200 yards passing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, okay? They only played 12 games, and they did it in about half as many pass attempts as Justin Fields is throwing now.
So wait, you're saying you're out on Justin Fields is what I'm hearing right now.
I'm just saying, like, is it not remarkable that I can go back to the 1943 Bears and they had 7 out of 12 games with over 200 net yards passing? That I'm just trying to illustrate how bad that is to be this deep in the season and not even have one game of having 200 net yards passing.
I think they get it this week. I think they get it this week. Okay. We both like the Bucs. All right, the next one of the biggest lines you'll ever see in a game, the Houston Texans against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are 17.5-point favorites in this one.
How do you bet on a line that large?
You don't, and that is why you stay away. Look at this great graphic.
Let's go. Bring it out there.
You stay away from this one because it's too many points. And there's a chance that this game is 31-0 going into the third quarter, but that's still too many points because you can get a couple garbage time touchdowns in the last 6 minutes and it still doesn't even feel like it's ever close. It's just too many points.
I mean, we obviously both like the Cardinals straight up. I said last week, the way to beat the Cardinals, I think, is to run right at them. The only really good game they've had on run defense this year was last week against Cleveland. But Chubb was hurt. Obviously, Kareem Hunt got hurt. And then game situation, right? Cleveland got down in the game. If you could stay close with Arizona and you keep running at them, I think you can beat them. Unfortunately, Houston has been terrible running the football. Their 2 leading rushers, okay, Mark Ingram and Phillip Lindsay, are averaging 3.3 and 2.5 yards per carry.
Not great. It's not great.
No.
Not a lot going for this Texans team, or going well for this Texans team. I'm staying away. It's just not worth it. It's way too risky. There's better games on the board. You don't need to bet on every single one.
Oh, that's all I have to say. What's next, please?
Next game is our Sunday night. Yeah, our Sunday night football game. Uh-huh. It is the Indianapolis Colts against the San Francisco 49ers. A really good game for 2 teams that aren't always on national television. Do you want to guess the spread?
Oh, boy. No, this one's going to be hard. Because the 49ers quarterback situation and the herky-jerky way the Colts have played, right?
49ers are coming off a bye. Yep.
Yeah. I would definitely pick the 49ers to be favored, but not by much. And if Vegas did it too high, it's either 3.5 or 5.5 to the 49ers. I'm going to guess 3.5 points. 49ers are favored at home.
You should have split it. It's 4.5.
4.5. Doggone it.
I'm going to give you an interesting stat. Over the last 3 games, Carson Wentz leads the NFL in yards per attempt at 9.4. That is pretty impressive. We talked about him on Tuesday's show, how he's played really well. 3 straight games with a passer rating of over 112. Starting to find his groove a little bit there in Indianapolis. It's a good game. I think I would take the Colts here. I think it's too many points. I think 3 should be the line here.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like the 49ers straight up in this game. I think protecting Carson Wentz is going to be really important. And I don't just mean offensive line play. I don't want to see him with a ton of pass attempts in this game.
No, I want to see Jonathan Taylor have 25 touches in this game.
Yep. 30 pass attempts is enough. That's plenty. If Wentz goes 20 of 28 for 261 and a touchdown, Marcus, or 2 touchdowns and maybe only 1 giveaway, I think they win this game. 49ers, by the way, Nick Bosa has over half their sacks. They've gotten pressure. They're just not getting the quarterback's butt on the ground, which is something they need to do against Wentz. Wentz can move, by the way, and I think this is a really good game. And we should also say, the Titans are 4-2, regardless of what we think of them, right? And by that, I mean, we think their defense is really bad and that they're kind of a mediocre team. The Titans are probably going to lose this week. This would be a great chance for the Colts to pick up a game on Tennessee to compete in that division.
I will say, I feel like the loser of this game is probably not going to make the playoffs because you just got done talking about the Colts. If they go down to 2-5, they're going to have a hard time climbing out of that hole. If you're the 49ers, you're 2-3 right now. You're playing in, I think, the best division in football with the Cardinals who are 6-0, the Rams who are 5-1. You can't really go down 2-4 and expect to make the playoffs. It's a huge game for both teams. And I think that's why I'm so excited to see it.
The only thing I would say about that real quick is that in the NFC, you do have a lot of teams that are kind of in that wild card mix who have been faltering as of late. I think the Bears are going to lose. Carolina has lost several games. Minnesota can't figure their way out of anything. There's not going to be any team in the wild card probably other than the NFC East division winner. So I think the 49ers are in less dire straits than the Colts would be. The Colts have to win that division or, it's not going to happen. Yeah.
Yep. Big game, but we both like the Colts plus 4.5 this week. All right. Our Monday Night Football game, just another really fun one.
We didn't miss one somewhere along the way?
No, it's a short week. We have 6 teams on bye.
Sure.
We've got a ton of teams on bye. And
we never talked Falcons Dolphins.
Is that an actual game this week? I mean, listen. Do we have to talk Falcons Dolphins? Here's what happened. I'll tell you.
You missed it, didn't you?
No, this is what happened. When I went to go look at the lines, they weren't there. I think it's because there's maybe some Tua speculation, so maybe it was off the board.
You got me confused. Did I get a week ahead? Aren't they playing?
No. Let's talk. Hold on. Let's talk this Saints Seahawks game first, and we'll go back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Saints Seahawks. Yeah. Saints are 4.5 point favorites in Seattle in this one.
Yeah. That's actually a little rich considering the way the Saints have played. They've been so inconsistent. I like the Saints in this game, just from a historical. So I would take the Saints in this game. I don't like the spread. What's the over under on this?
In this game, it's pretty low. I got it right here. It is 42.5. 42.
Ooh. Wow. That might actually be too low for my taste. That's a low over under. I will say this. Seattle's newer. I cannot think of this game at Seattle without thinking of the Marshawn Lynch run. Yeah. It's one of those plays that's in matchups now that's burned in your memory, right? Mm-hmm. When you see these two teams line it up in Seattle and watching that thing live, it's still one of the greatest football plays, experiences I've ever had. Like I was at a sports bar, I was sitting with Saints fans and the people erupting. And then the two Saints fans I was sitting with just looking so deflated, man. Just a crazy. I know that has nothing to do with picking this game. I'm just saying I cannot think of this matchup without instantly going there. Is my point. And I think Seattle's got to do more running the rock like they did last week. The problem is, hey, here's the deal though. The Saints are really good at stopping the run. They took Quan Alexander off of IR. Marcus Davenport could be coming back, although he's got a pec injury, and those things can be they can linger. Yep. Yeah, they can linger. So I don't know that it's going to be as easy for Seattle to say, hey, in the third quarter, we're going to start running Alex Collins. Right. This ain't Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I am really nervous about Seattle's pass rush because they just don't have any unless they're blitzing, and Pete Carroll doesn't love the blitz. But I'm staying away from this game for a couple different reasons. Pete Carroll does have a way of keeping games close when he doesn't have the same talent as the opposing team. Like we saw that last week, right?
Yes.
The game was 14-0 in Pittsburgh. Yes. I think most teams let that game get away from them, but they took it to overtime. And I think you can make a good case they should have won that game. They had 2 offensive possessions in overtime. I think the Saints are going to win this game, but I'm staying away. I think 4.5 is too many points. But if you are the Saints, you got to win this game. If you want to be a playoff team, you've got to beat Geno Smith on the road. I don't trust them yet. They're the most up and down team in the league right now.
Do you know Cam Jordan didn't have a sack yet?
That's okay. Sacks don't tell everything.
It is
notable.
It was interesting. When I was going through the Saints, I was like, wow.
They've only played 5 games, right? They're coming off a bye. So
look, we need to get out of here. So can we, we're lingering here. Can we talk about what's really important?
Falcons, Dolphins. Yes. Just a phenomenal game. I don't know how in the world I missed this one. Falcons, 2.5-point favorites over the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins are doing something that most teams don't do. They played a game in London last Sunday, and they didn't take a bye week. How much do you think that's going to affect them?
I think it could very much. I mean, what they have going for them is that they're at home and they're playing an opponent that's only beaten the Jets and the Giants. This is a game Miami, frankly, should win, Marcus, even if it's just by a field goal. They have the personnel to do it. The thing with Atlanta, they're averaging 3.7 yards per rush and 6.5 yards per pass.
Yes.
Those are both awful numbers. You don't normally see it that way. Usually it's at least one of the numbers is mediocre. Those are both awful. I think Miami can get the win here. I think Miami can win by a field goal, but I hesitate to pick them. I'm curious what your thoughts are to see if you can convince me either way.
I'm taking the Falcons in this game because I don't trust Miami's defense at all right now. I know they've had some injuries to Xavier Howard and to Byron Jones, but I just trust Matt Ryan more. I will say this, Elliot. I really think Atlanta needs to condense their offense some more. I know they want to be one of these teams that spreads the ball around to 7 or 8 different receivers. I don't think that's the strategy. I think you should just pepper Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts with targets and then just run the ball, shorten the game because the defense isn't very good. I think that's their best strategy to stay in games the rest of the season.
They've had 2 guys they could give the ball to, Mike Davis, Cordero Patterson. Mm-hmm. I know you like the way they're using Patterson. I was actually half teasing. I like Atlanta in this game to win on the road by a field goal at least because I don't trust Miami. I was just trying to make some kind of case, and I couldn't even do it convincingly.
So, I want to ask you this.
Such a disappointment. Yeah.
I agree. They're the biggest disappointment in the league by far.
The league, yes.
Do you buy this Deshaun Watson to the Dolphins trade rumors that have been floated out there the last couple of days?
I don't want to say anything that I'm going to regret here, but why? Given everything that's going on in the league right now, and you know what I'm implying.
Yep.
What's the point? Like, where's the line? Where's the line that you draw? Hey, let things play out. And if it plays out to where what people think happened didn't happen, that's a different deal, right? And I'm all for that. That's the kind of country we live in. That's the way our laws work. And I am all for that. But why, Marcus? Why right now? And how much competition do they really have right now?
I think the Dolphins are the only team that are interested. I think the reason why the Dolphins are considering it is because they're 1-6 right now. Chris Greer traded away their first-round pick this upcoming year, and it could potentially be a top 5 pick. And Brian Flores might be on the hot seat there a little bit. This is his 3rd year.
Okay.
That's what it is, right? I think it's desperation from the general manager and the head coach.
All right, but do you agree with that?
No.
I mean, we're not talking about somebody that's accused of one thing here. Like, it's not one.
I agree, but that's why I think that's why these things are being floated out there, because I think Chris Greer believes I need to do something dramatic in order to keep my job. Because if we are 3-14 this year and we don't have a first round pick, I'm gone. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not saying like we got to let everything play out, right? The entire process and see where it lands. So I'm not advocating against the player here. I'm merely saying why not let that process play out when you don't have any competition for him anyway? And given everything that's going on in the league, this is more than just bad optics,
I
right?
agree.
If you're making a move in desperation, it's still going to be obvious. Do you think people don't know that what Daniel Snyder did with Sean Taylor last week wasn't super obvious?
Correct.
People
Right.
still know. We're not dumb. I mean, sometimes I think owners think the fans are really dumb because they make billions of dollars and the fans come to games and pay $180 to park their car. That doesn't mean the fans are dumb. They just love the product, but they're not dumb. That's why this kind of stuff, that's why I'm saying I'm almost wish you didn't ask me because
I know.
this kind of stuff really frustrates me.
I will say this. I think a smart team is going to jump in and get Tua from the Dolphins. It's just been an awful situation for Tua. Like the offensive line has been awful. He's been injured. And when he's played, he's looked like a quarterback that only has like 10 starts under his belt. I would not be surprised if a team that might have a need at quarterback surrenders. I don't know, maybe a day 2 pick for Tua and they get a really good quarterback prospect for a fraction of the price. I'm really curious to see where he lands.
Well, the Broncos are a team that have been discussed. The Washington football team has been a team that's been heavily discussed there.
I think it's going to be a team that has an older quarterback that's maybe looking ahead, a little bit. So what about Atlanta? Like the team
I was just about to say, what about the team they're playing?
Wouldn't that make a lot of sense? Like, we're going to probably need a quarterback next year anyways. Tua's cheap because the Dolphins have paid his entire salary. Why not? If he doesn't work out, it's a 2nd round pick or it's a 3rd round pick. It's not going to kill us. I think a team like that's going to be interesting.
I'll only say this about it. The good news is they're going to get a close look at him, obviously, this week, which is great. It's one thing to watch film. It's another thing to be right there on the field playing the guy. And the Falcons and the Dolphins don't play each other. They play each other every 4 years. That said, we have to remind ourselves that Matt Ryan has only been in the league 1 year longer than Matt Stafford. And Matt Ryan,
he's older though.
Okay, I just haven't seen a great drop off in Matt Ryan's play. I think Matt Ryan could have the same thing happen that Matt Stafford has. I think if Matt Ryan would have gone to the Rams, that it may have turned out the exact same. They're not the exact same player, Stafford and Ryan, but I'm not so sure. If Tua did get traded to the Falcons, would it be a situation where he's just sitting there like Rodgers behind Favre for 3 years?
No, I don't think so. Matt Ryan's 36. He'll turn 37 next offseason. I think that's a worthwhile trade because if Matt Ryan does fall off, you have a guy that's ready to go. If he doesn't, it's only a 2nd round pick. It's not that big of a deal. So let's just pay attention to see what happens with Tua over the next couple of weeks.
Well, I'll just say this, man. I think the Dolphins could really show me a lot by digging themselves out of this hole with an organizational dedication to putting the best product out on the field that they have right now. Don't try to go get Deshaun Watson.
One more team.
Yeah.
Eagles have like 3 first-round picks next year, a bunch of second-round picks. Would you rather have Tua or Hurts? I know Nick Saban chose Tua over Hurts. What do you think?
In my mind, the discrepancy is not large enough to why just build that team, use those picks elsewhere.
Fair enough.
Give Hurts a chance. But I want to mention one thing because we're done with our picks, right?
Yeah, we're good. I didn't forget a
game. Let's go back over real quick. Everyone we picked straight up for those people that are in pools where they're picking games straight up.
I got it. We got Broncos, Browns. I'm taking the Broncos. You are taking the Browns. We've got the Packers over the Washington football team. You and I are both taking the Patriots over the Jets. We are also taking the Chiefs over the Titans. We're both taking the Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens against the spread. You are taking the Bengals against the spread. Panthers. You and I both like Carolina this week, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Rams, Lions. We both like the Rams. Raiders, Eagles. I've got the Raiders. Do you have as well? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Buccaneers, Bears. We both have the Bucks. Cardinals, Texans. We both like the Cardinals, but maybe stay away from the spread
stay
there.
Away from that one for sure.
We've got the Falcons over the Dolphins. We've got the 49ers beating the Colts, right?
Yeah, but like the Colts to cover there.
I agree. And then we both like the
both
Saints over the Seahawks, but we're staying away from the point spread.
That's right. The Falcons over the Dolphins, man. What a game.
What a game.
What a game.
What a
One
game.
thing before we get out of here, I want to say about Derrick Henry and the Titans. We talked about him on the field. If you didn't catch our pod Tuesday, yeah, I guess I do shill for our podcast, but that's kind of what I'm supposed to do. But we really did have an interesting discussion about Derrick Henry versus Adrian Peterson, prime Adrian Peterson. But going beyond that, you know, while we talk about Deshaun Watson and all this crap that's going on in the league, Derrick Henry was up there at the podium with the T-shirt on with a picture of a dog for a dog rescue. And I love that, man. And there, you know, I live in Los Angeles where the shelters have been overrun. And to see a star football player like that wear a shirt, support a cause like that. I know there are other players that support that cause as well. Man, if you're looking for a dog, before you go to a breeder or whatever, if you don't care that much about the kind of dog you have or whatever, go to a shelter, adopt a dog. If it's good enough for Derrick Henry and it's good enough for me, I mean, Marcus, where's your dog? Can we see him?
She's
isn't it? Excellent.
Yeah, she's laying down on the bed next to me.
But
we're a dog podcast. We love our dogs. So
yeah. Anyway, and there's a great charity called Fixin' Fidos, FIXNFIDOS.com here in LA that you can donate to. I just went to a fundraiser for them this weekend, and I donate to it, and just made me like Derrick Henry that much more. Okay, there we go.
I thought you were going to do a
segue over.
Bob Barker, like have your pet spayed and neutered for us at the end of the show.
Hey man, I'm just saying, like it was really nice to see.
It's a good cause. You know? Dogs are fantastic.
Isn't Max Crosby? Is it Max Crosby is also a big advocate for that? Maybe I'm misremembering on that.
Yes, you're right.
And there's someone else. I just love it, man. I just love it.
We love Halloween as well. We're going to talk about our favorite candy bars.
Dogs and Halloween.
There you go. That's a takeaway from this show.
Yes.
And bet the Falcons over the Dolphins. There we go.
Oh boy. Here we go. Okay. I am officially Courtney. Can we go now? Are we good? Yeah.
We're good.
We're good. All right. We're good. Hey, catch us tomorrow. We're going to do a little reaction show around this time. That's audio only, wherever you get podcasts. We'll see you Tuesday.